party is officially over. Soon, the cleanup will begin. The Army 250th anniversary celebration rolled through the streets of downtown D.C. this evening, featuring thousands of soldiers, hundreds of military vehicles, and despite some dicey weather conditions, a fireworks show. But today's show in the National Mall was also shadowed by political violence and protests both nationwide and at home.
Yes, and it was all Democrat Party violence. They were thrilled when there was a shooting in Minnesota that they could blame on Republicans. Not entirely clear yet what's happening with that psychotic. His behavior seems an awful lot like Democrat behavior, behavior of a Democrat. And I do want to share thoughts and information and audio sound bites with you on that topic. We also have a war going on in the Middle East between Israel and Iran, kind of a big deal. And there's breaking news on that I want to share with you right now out of Dubai. The Wall Street Journal is reporting Iran has been urgently I tell you, has been urgently signaling that it seeks an end to hostilities and resumption of talks over its nuclear program. That story just breaking right now. The Wall Street Journal, again, they're not too slouchy. They're a good news organization. And the Wall Street Journal says Iran has been urgently signaling that it seeks an end to hostilities and resumption of talks over its nuclear programs, sending messages to Israel and the United States via Arab intermediaries. Middle Eastern and European officials said to the Wall Street Journal, in the midst of a ferocious Israeli air campaign, Tehran has told Arab officials they would be open to return to the negotiating table as long as the U.S. doesn't join the attack. Now, you can join the talks at the table, but asking the U.S. to not join the attack. And there is a nuclear facility at a location called Natanz. It's been there forever and ever. And the Israelis have made it clear that it's buried so deep underground, just like in the movie Top Gun Maverick. You see that Top Gun Maverick movie? It's a good movie, a lot of good flying scenes and stuff. And that's about this underground nuclear facility in Iran, and then flying F-14 jets all these decades later. That, Maverick had to fly out of Iran at the end of the movie. It was very exciting, and lost his landing gear, had to land on the nets on the deck of the aircraft carrier. A lot of fun, good stuff. But the Natanz facility underground, it's been made clear publicly that Israel is asking the United States, President Trump, to join the fight and drop bunker busters on this underground nuclear facility in Iran with weapons that only we possess and they do not. And the reporting has been that it would require the involvement of the B-2 stealth bombers, at least one, probably two, to drop some, Top Gun Maverick bunker busters on the underground nuclear facility. And Iran doesn't want that because it's the gold standard. They've been building that thing for decades, and it's highly secure. They've invested a lot in it. But now, according to the Wall Street Journal out of Dubai, Iran is saying, hey, maybe we should come back to the table because as long as the U.S. doesn't join in the attack, according to the officials talking to the Wall Street Journal. They also passed messages, the Iranians have, to Israel, saying it is in the interest of both sides to keep the violence contained. Oh, that's always been true, hasn't it? Yes, it has. But with Israeli warplanes able to fly freely over the capital of Tehran and Iranian counterattacks inflicting minimal damage inside Israel, Israeli leaders have little incentive to halt their assault before doing more to destroy Iran's nuclear sites and further weaken the theocratic government's hold on power. That's, the Ayatollahs and all of that, the council and all that. So the Wall Street Journal said Iran is saying, hey, maybe this isn't such a good idea. The Iranians had their one of their major oil facilities blown up, and it's on fire as oil facilities will be on fire. But the Israelis are whooping some ass, I got to say, in Iran. And the story came out of the weekend interview that Bret Baier did on the Fox News channel with Benjamin Netanyahu, a long-form, wonderful interview full of great stuff. And I've got to say that one of the things is that Netanyahu talked about was the fact that Iran has tried to assassinate Donald Trump, and that should be frowned upon, I think. And I believe that President Trump frowns upon that. Another part of it was, boy, Israel would really like the U.S. to jump in with bunker busters, which might involve heavy long-range bombers like the B-2 stealth bomber, the Bat-wing black stealth bomber, radar resistant and all that. Drop some bunker busters on their underground facility and put their nuclear program out of business. And now Iran wants to stop. Another part of it was apparently Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to President Trump about putting the whack on the Ayatollah Khamenei. I like to go like that, like that, just to help clear my throat. And the Khamenei. And President Trump said, no, I don't think you guys should put the whack on the Ayatollah. I think you should leave the Ayatollah in place. And Israel said, well, okay, we'll leave the Ayatollah in place. President Trump wants to negotiate with Iran, wants to negotiate peace with Iran, wants to negotiate an end to the nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program that Barack Hussein Obama and John Kerry helped to fund and to keep going so that the rest of the world would be threatened by the death cult troglodytes of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. So we've got that going for us. But that's kind of a big deal, I've got to say. Yes, sir. Yeah, the Wall Street Journal with an exclusive banner. A battered Iran signals it wants to de-escalate hostilities with Iran and negotiate. That's what the Wall Street Journal is reporting. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. So we've got that going for us. Kind of a big deal. Israel, again, they're in position right now to continue to inflict punishment on the Ayatollahs and Iran, and it sounds like they could take out the Ayatollah anytime they want, which is probably true. They are taking out senior uniform military leadership and leaving the civilian leadership in place. The civilian leadership is no great shakes, however, so you got to keep that in mind. So that is a big development, a big major development from the Wall Street Journal. And I wanted to share that with you while it was just emerging. Now, you've been watching perhaps the videos, and again, I've got a friend in Jerusalem who's been there since the beginning, and he's been texting me. We've been going back and forth all the while. And Israel is being... they're being attacked quite constantly. Iron Dome the missile defense system is quite effective, but it's not 100% effective. You don't hermetically seal the skies over your country, even with this great American technology enhanced by the Israelis, improved by the Israelis. But never mind that. Now let me get back to the psychopath in Minnesota, because big deal. Minnesota suspect Vance Bolter is in custody now. I think I said $5 million bond, right? $5 million bond. Somebody in Virginia ran a person over at a big protest. No bond for him. Didn't kill anybody, injured somebody. A violent mob attack. You see, there was one that was in California, where apparently a guy, his car was being attacked by a violent mob of Democrats, and he raced away and hit one of the violent protesters, which I think in Florida would be legal. I think it'd be fine in Florida. But in California, they'll hang the person being attacked because Democrats. But back to a very suspicious situation in Minnesota. Minnesota suspect Vance Bolter's wife, Jenny, was an intern with Tim Walz. That's being widely reported. And interestingly, the wife of Vance Bolter, the suspect in Minnesota lawmaker shooting, was arrested after officials pulled her over in her vehicle in Onamia, Onamia, Minnesota. The wife of Vance Butler, the suspect in Minnesota lawmaker shooting, was arrested. The wife was, after officials pulled over her vehicle in Onamia, Minnesota, and on Saturday, with passports, plural here, and cash found in Jenny Bolter's car. Authorities, in Minnesota, it's up there. You got Canada up there. That's another country altogether. And who knows what they're about these days, but they're just burning the trees and smoking out the United States again. Amazing stuff. Authorities have yet to comment on whether she was involved in the shootings in Minnesota of the representative, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Mark, who were shot and murdered at their home after she voted against the Democrat Party and against free health care for illegal aliens. She's the only Democrat in the state house that voted against this very important Democrat bill to give free health care to illegal aliens. Also shot Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette. Senator John Hoffman was the only Democrat to vote against the same bill in the state Senate. Those are the only two people that were targeted by this guy, who was appointed to twice by two different Democrat governors to commissions in the state of Minnesota. Now, Fox 9 in Minnesota report, they say they have sources that tell them that Jenny was in the vehicle with several other relatives who were questioned after the traffic stop. And then we've got the roommate guy, because the killer, I'm going to go ahead and declare him guilty because it looks like he's guilty as hell. Vance Bolter. He was appointed by Tim Walz to a board. He was appointed by the previous Democrat governor to a board in Minnesota. I don't think they're looking for pro-life Republicans to put on anything in Minnesota, but quite peculiar. And I've got a lot of questions about why he left his vehicle at the scene of the crime with his manifesto inside, fled the scene on foot. I find that to be quite peculiar, quite odd, I've got to say. Now, let me go to, and he left the vehicle there with his manifesto, and he had another getaway car nearby that he could run to and get in that vehicle. That is odd, and he waited for the police to show up at the home of the woman, member of the State House, and her husband that he had murdered. Why did he stand around and not get in his vehicle and race away the moment he did it? Doesn't take long to do what he did, yet he was hanging out there, and then he exchanged shots with the police, and nobody was hit, and he ran away to his getaway car, his second car, and a lot of peculiar elements of this story, I've got to say. Let's go to a little bit of our news media friends. CNN, the cable news network, formerly known, has an anchorwoman named Jessica Dean, and they're very, I got to say, I was watching this thing, and I'm like, why would anybody target these two Democrats that just voted against the Democrat Party? And I thought, well, it's probably more likely a Democrat who is angry with them for betraying the Democrat Party. And then I learned not too long later, a couple of hours later, that the vehicle that he left at the scene of the crime, we didn't know until much later that he had a second vehicle nearby and a change of clothes and all that. So kind of all planned, like he knew he was going to leave his vehicle there. And, of course, he knew that his manifesto was in that vehicle. And there were more weapons that were AK-47s, by the way, not even American weapons, AK-47s, according to news reports. You may remember that the Democrat Party operative for the Bernie Sanders campaign, James Hodgkinson, who showed up and shot Congressman Steve Scalise. When did he do that? Oh, June 14th of 2017. He used a Chinese-made military-style, assault-style rifle. And this guy has AK-47s, not American weapons. And he targets two Democrats and only two Democrats, the only two Democrats that betrayed the Democrat Party. And the Democrats lost the big vote that would have guaranteed taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens. Now, Why would a Republican be angry with these two Democrats and only these two Democrats under those circumstances? That's not logical. Doesn't make any sense. I've got more on that and more audio coming up too. You know, the big wireless companies, they're pulling one over on all of us. It's time to switch to consumer cellular. I did, and I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide big wireless coverage without the big wireless cost, the big wireless money. But it's not just about saving money on my bill. It's about not being used and abused by the big cell phone people. You know that how much data you use every month? Do you have any idea? Most people over the age of 50 use fewer than 8 gigs of data every month, but big wireless, they want to move you into an unlimited plan because they need you to redistribute your wealth to cover the cost of younger people using 10 times as much data as you use. Now, Consumer Cellular set me up with a service and a beautiful phone. And it's incredibly easy to switch. All you have to do is call a person. You talk to an actual person, not a robot. That person is based right here in the United States. That's good. Real human beings on the phone, like normal people. They're helpful. Only takes about 20 minutes. So give them a call today and make the switch. Call 1-800-760-0702. That's 1-800-760-0702. Yeah. And a lot of questions about all this. The news media, they're all over it because they're the Democrat Party. But I've got some audio of them and some thoughts on these matters. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. CNN anchorwoman Jessica Dean, they're thrilled with this. This is January 6th, times 10 for the Democrats and the media.
Officials calling this attack, quote, politically motivated. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed in this attack. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were hospitalized with multiple gunshot wounds. Both lawmakers are members of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Now, authorities believe the gunman impersonated a police officer to target those lawmakers and their spouses at their homes. The governor, Tim Walz, calling this attack a politically motivated assassination.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly fair to call it that. It's certainly what it appears to be. And in fact, any way you slice it, that's what it is. Whether they say the guy is, and they base it on a roommate. So, oh, yeah, he's a Trump supporter. Now, is the roommate in on this whole thing? Is he involved with the getaway car at the second location, the change of clothes, the runaway? I know what I'd be investigating if I were in charge of this. Now, my best girl and I, on Saturday, we were down in the mall for the big Army parade, and there were only a smattering of lunatic, no kings protesters who were treated with grace by the very large crowd of hundreds and hundreds of billions of people. There are a great many people. Not billions, but, a lot of people. And then the shrieking, screaming, really mentally ill lunatics on 14th Street as we were leaving the gathering because membership in the Democrat Party is clearly a sign of mental illness at this point. There's no kings protest that was all over the country, and the media says there are millions of them and thousands of protests. It reminded Michael Piercy and I of ABC News long ago, telling us that Occupy Wall Street, or was it Black Lives Matter, had spread to more than 1,000 countries. Diane Sawyer on ABC News, more than 1,000 countries worldwide.
The Occupy Wall Street movement, as of tonight, it has spread to more than 250 American cities, more than 1,000 countries, every continent but Antarctica.
More than 1,000 countries, every continent but Antarctica. The Penguins didn't join in. And then There aren't even any Eskimos there to join in. I don't think she knows it. And there are about 200 countries worldwide. Not 1,000, but ABC News there tell you that their movement, they took some Metamucil, that their movement had spread to 1,000 countries worldwide, which you'd have to take in other planets, other solar systems, other galaxies for that. Aren't they insane? But President Trump was asked late last week, hey, the No Kings protest coming this Saturday, the day that you're celebrating the Army's 250th birthday and Flag Day, right? And never mind that. But President Trump was asked about this last week.
There are several No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What are they called? No Kings?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He loves his press conferences. And now he has tweeted, President Trump tweeted, I think he tweeted yesterday, at Donald J. Trump, real Donald Trump. Thank you. This is in all capital letters now. A huge thank you, that's in all caps, to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. So this is Sunday that he tweeted it. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job, all. So, again, he mocks them, he ridicules them. This is, I think it's Saul Alinsky's rule number 5 in Rules for Radicals, isn't it? That ridicule is your most potent weapon, and your enemies, as the Democrats refer to Americans, cannot recover from ridicule. Yeah. A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job, all. That's great stuff. Now, again, the killer in Minnesota had a stack of No Kings protests flyers. Why would he have a stack of No Kings protest flyers, the kind that you might hand out to people that want to attend the anti-Trump protest? Well, there's one person, and only one person that I'm aware of, telling us that he was a Trump supporter. The wife is in police custody now. She's driving around with money, a stack of cash, like gold bars, Senator Menendez. Got pockets full of cash, car full of cash, and passports, plural passports, presumably his and hers. So where were they going? What were they doing? How much does she know? She's in police custody, and I saw one report this morning that she is cooperating with the police. I have some questions for him. Why would you target the only 2 Democrats that voted with the Republicans for the first time ever on a very important bill that the Democrats really wanted to pass that would give taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens in Minnesota by the millions, because you ring the dinner bell and people come running. Isn't that amazing? So President Trump mocking them, ridiculing them on Twitter, and it's funny. The thing about him is that he's funny. He's actually funny, which is kind of great. Yes, sir. And the Democrat Party. I'm looking at a picture here of the morbidly obese roommate wearing the Papa John's shirt covered with food, and the guy's sitting on his front porch, which is a danger to the front porch. The left-wing radicals at the Daily Beast with the headline, Dem assassin is strong Trump supporter. And that's in quotation marks. Strong Trump supporter. Best friend reveals. Now, is this best friend roommate who rents a room to the killer for $200, $200-something a month, is he in on it? Was he involved in pre-positioning the getaway car, the second car? Maybe he was driving the second car and met him. I'm looking at their phone records and their text messages and their emails. I'm looking at because this guy doesn't exactly look like a reliable source. not by any stretch of the imagination. But a young local reporter woman allegedly spoke to him, and this is the only place this comes from. A local reporter woman in Minnesota spoke to this alleged roommate, right? And the alleged roommate allegedly told the local news reporter he's a, quote, strong Trump supporter. And that's it. That's all they need for the Democrat Party narrative, for the Democrat Party talking points. That and the manifesto, which he left in the hands of the police at the scene of the crime, so they could say, oh, yeah, he's pro-life. He's pro-life. And he's a pro-Republican guy. He's a Catholic. Right? And they say he spends time in Congo, where he allegedly preaches, which you ought not do if you're not a Catholic priest. But, okay. And I've got to say, Howard called in from, I think from Manassas, and he didn't stay on the line, but Howard called in, and I don't want to steal his thunder here. He said, even though he dropped off the line because he's busy, he's got things to do. But Howard called in, and he said, do pro-life people go around killing people? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, it's not that it's never happened. There was that guy who bombed an abortion clinic in Atlanta or some, decades ago. Eric Rudolph, I think was his name, went on the run for years. But it is very, very unusual that they say, oh, yeah, here's a pro-life guy going around shooting and killing people. That's not what pro-life is, but okay. Yeah, so the Democratic assassin, strong Trump supporter. Do you have that local news lady? The local news lady in Minnesota said that she spoke to the roommate, whose name is David Carlson, no relation, told reporters on Saturday that the suspected killer, Vance L. Bolter, voted for the MAGA president last year. It actually says voted FRO, F-R-O, because the Daily Beast, they're illiterate and angry lefties. The revelation came after Republicans such as Elon Musk painted Bolter, who was appointed to Governor Mike Walz's Workforce Development Board in 2019, as a violent leftist, despite his pro-life views. I see no evidence of his pro-life views anywhere except after the fact. Can anybody show me? I'd put $1 down. I'm not a big gambler, but I'd put $1 down that he has given money to Planned Parenthood. That will find out that he's not pro-life. That will find out that he's not a Trump supporter. At least there is it's just a hypothesis at this point. But I think these are questions that need to be raised because the narrative was tied up in a neat little bow by the killer, left in his vehicle, which he knowingly left in the hands of the police. And he knew that he had a second car nearby to go to, so he could leave this car in the hands of the police with his manifesto in it, which he brought to the scene of the crime and left in the hands of the police. And the manifesto had a list of Democrats that he wanted to kill, but he didn't kill any of them, just the two that voted against the Democrat Party on their big bill short time earlier, not to, a couple of days earlier. Isn't that amazing? So, yeah, Elon Musk saying, oh, yeah, he's appointed by Tim Walz, and he was appointed by the preceding Democrat governor as well, had a long-term relationship with the Democrat Party in Minnesota, with two governors that appointed him to boards. And I'll bet that Walz, when he held the press conference on Saturday morning, already knew that he knew this guy and appointed him to a board. But that didn't come up at his press conference, which is interesting, too. Bolter and his wife, who was detained for questioning on Saturday, were registered Republicans while living in Oklahoma in the early 2000s, according to the Daily Beast, which can't be trusted. According to public records, however, Minnesota does not require people to select a party when registering to vote. That is a slippery language there. Does not require, but if you want to vote in the primaries, wouldn't you register with one party or another? Sure. Yes, sir. Carlson, the morbidly obese roommate, told CNN he had received a text message. That's why we got to look at all their text messages going back months from Belter around 6 a.m. on Saturday, hours after he allegedly gunned down Democrat State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband at their home in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, and critically wounded State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, their home in Champlin. Both of them voted against the Democrats less than a week earlier, and they were all over the media for betraying the Democrat Party. And then they're the only two that are shot. And pro-life people don't typically shoot and kill people because they're pro-life, you see. You respect human life. Let's go to back to CNN, segment number 3. They have a fake reporter of some kind whose name is Veronica Miracle. Veronica Miracle. I'm not sure if that's her porn name or what's going on with that, but Veronica Miracle. Veronica Miracle, that's her name. And she was on CNN.
He works for a security company, Praetorian Guard Security. The company website says that Vance Bolter, who we've identified here as the suspect, serves as the director of security patrols and has had training by people in the U.S. military, which may give some insight as to why he was able to get all of that gear and the car with the lights that made it look like he was law enforcement.
Made it look like he was law enforcement. And where did he get this training with the U.S. military? He didn't serve in the military. He's Praetorian something or other, which he allegedly claims he's the CEO of or something. I think a lot of this will turn out to be fiction. I hope it doesn't take 5 years like so many other FBI investigations. And here's Miracle the Wonder Horse.
Now, found in his car was also a hit list with mayors, abortion providers, pro-choice advocates, and a number of 70 different targets, both in Minnesota and other states.
Yeah, abortion providers and pro-choice advocates. That's what was left in the vehicle by the killer to be found immediately, which would frame it up as, obviously. Then you go to the morbidly obese roommate and say, yeah, he's a Trump supporter. Now, let's see how involved that guy has been in all of this. On CNN, I was actually watching this and texting with Michael while I was watching it. The crooked, disgraced, shamed former FBI corrupt official Andrew McCabe, anti-Trump radical, who was, of course, immediately hired by CNN to come on their network and say things like this.
He's got some sort of security background. He works at a security company. Supposedly he's received some military training or training from military people in the past.
Supposedly, maybe.
He's desperate. We know that he's lethal.
Yeah, okay. And you notice all the qualifiers in there. The supposedly is nobody ever heard of Praetorian Guard security, whatever it is. Andrew McCabe, disgraced former FBI official.
Political violence is something that we have experienced before. It is absolutely on the rise now. If you look at the FBI statistics and the things that former FBI Director Christopher Wray said
white supremacists
while he was testifying in front of Congress, political violence, much of it coming from the right side of the political agenda, was something that was of paramount importance to him.
Yeah, name an example. I've got Donald Trump being shot less than a year ago, about 11 months ago. And, I think McCabe actually said, yeah, sure, he's the guy that shot Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. He's a registered Republican. That was part of the Democrat Party's program to get all their lunatics to vote in the Republican primary so they could vote for the least electable Republican. It was part of a scam that the Democrat Party was pulling at the time. And frauds and crooks like Andrew McCabe never mentioned that because they're not truth tellers. From handcrafted beautiful steaks to family grilling favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience for all of your 4th of July grilling plans. And right now, during the 4th of July sale, you can get 50% off the entire website at omahasteaks.com. Plus, because you hang out with me, get an extra $45 off with the promo code PLANTE at checkout, PLANTE. Hey, listen, growing up in Chicago, my neighbors used to get Omaha Steaks. We never did. I used to rub my hands together and say, someday I'll get Omaha Steaks. And now I have Omaha Steaks delivered to my house, and it's a great thing. Nothing quite like the all-American feeling of a 4th of July cookout with Omaha Steaks. The fan favorite filet mignon has earned the coveted distinction of USDA certified tender, and their all-new smash burgers are built for the grill. They also carry mouth-watering chicken and pork and seafood and really delicious desserts as well. So get fired up for the 4th of July with Omaha Steaks. All you have to do is visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off the entire website during their 4th of July sale. And for an extra $45 off, use the promo code MyLastNamePlant at checkout. That's 50% off omahasteaks.com, an extra $45 off with the code PLANT at checkout. See the website for details. Yes, sir. All right, there are a lot of questions about that. Our news media is never going to ask them. They had this tied up in a neat little bow by their very own Jussie Smollett, who left it there for the police to give to the New York Times, which happened in a couple of hours. I'm like, oh, clear. Oh, he's pro-life. Sure. Pro-life people killing people. Huh. Bum, 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 bum. All right, we should. I love that this guy, Daily Caller, posted a photograph of an obese African American man at the No Kings protests here in D.C. on Saturday, wearing a T-shirt that says, "When Civil War II starts, I got dibs on Stephen Miller." You know, demonized by Terry Moran of ABC News last week. The Democrat Party gave us the first Civil War, and now we had Gavin Newsom threatening civil war, and who was there? There are more media people. Oh, there was The View. Yeah. All right, let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to John calling from Missoula, Montana. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, John.
Yes, I like to refer to myself as John the Fifth.
John the Fifth. John V.
Yes, because I am a king.
You are what?
I am a king.
Oh, king. Oh, yeah, John the Fifth. Okay, yeah, like a king or a pope. Yeah.
Yes, and the only reason why I'm calling in is
real quick.
I've been listening to you for I know I'm up against a hard break. I listened to you for years and years, and you had a story out of Missoula.
Hang in there for me.